Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca Spillane. I am today's guest interviewer for Donate for Refugees. I'm here today to interview Clark Schofield, who's the Director of Collective Aid based in Serbia.
Yeah, as mentioned, my name's Clark, and I've been working with Collective Aid for about 3.5 years now. I'm excited to share a bit about the Balkans, the situation here, especially since it doesn't often reach the news.
Well, yeah, I'd certainly say that. I know that the Balkan route is one of the ways that people are travelling through, or were travelling through into Europe. How many camps are there over in that area?
When the Balkan route shifted into Bosnia in 2018, the system was totally overwhelmed and still is. There's not nearly enough capacity. The camps are really horrendous and overcrowded. Out of the people who are in the country, 7,000 in Serbia, about 9,000 in Bosnia. In Serbia, there are 1,000 plus who are sleeping outside of the official camp systems. And in Bosnia, that number is much higher, probably around 4,000. So there are a lot of people sleeping rough. The police do not evict them in the same way that they do in Calais, though it does still happen, and it depends on the region, as we've seen on every one of these borders, these fortified borders. People die all the time, and it's a direct result of the position that governments have taken, one of deterrence rather than
There are a
welcome.
few different charities that go out to the camps and help people. Do they have food distribution, or is it clothing? What sort of support do you offer over there?
There are still grassroots organizations working in the Balkans, though the number of them is far smaller than even the number of grassroots orgs working in Calais. It can be quite difficult too because of the working environment. In Bosnia, there are quite a few more organizations working on the ground, and a ton of local volunteers who do essential work. A harsh reality is that local volunteers often receive much more negative pressure, negative attention and pressure from the government than international volunteers do.
Obviously, I'm talking for myself, but I know a lot of people. We do this. The type of people we are to volunteer with these groups and do what we do. We're sort of compassionate, empathetic people, and I find very often I get quite attached to the people. I feel it quite personally to the people that I help and stuff. Have you come across anybody, any families, anybody who's particularly stuck with you or their story, anything that's really resonated with you?
Yeah, there's so many stories over the years. I think that anyone who's done this work for a period of time, even a very short period of time, walks away totally changed, with a very different perspective on the world. And I mean, there are stories of people who over and over have just sacrificed so much for their families and for a safe future. The one story that's coming to mind now is a man that we recently helped who had crossed the Hungarian border, but in the process of crossing broke his leg. And he was stranded in a field with a broken leg and with some quite severe health issues for 5 days in Hungary. He called the police and no one would help him. He called the police knowing that he would be arrested and deported. He called the ambulance, no one came. He called border police, no one came. And eventually, days after, as many as 5 days after he broke his leg, without food and very little water, he got in contact with us. He found our contact, and we were able to to find someone in Hungary to advocate for him, which was great. The police did show up. They took him to the hospital. They put a cast on his leg and illegally pushed him back over the border. These illegal pushbacks are happening throughout Europe, and it's really a strategy by the EU, not an official one, but the fact that they haven't done anything about it is telling. So he was pushed back from Hungary, which is an EU country, into Serbia without ever having the chance to register his asylum claim. So he's pushed back into Serbia. He goes back to the place he was living before, and he waits to recover until he can do it again. He actually wrote a beautiful poem that's posted on the Collective Aid Instagram account, of just longing for safety and wanting to maintain hope, but how difficult it is after years of trying and experiencing the same hardships over and over and over. What keeps me motivated is knowing that it always seems hopeless until it isn't. And throughout history, there have been these times where things get so bad, and there's just an outcry against whatever the situation is, and I feel something happening under the surface. I feel this collective kind of rage at the situation now and the system that's led to it. These movements always include people taking to the streets and being very, very loud. And I think that that's going to be a big part of what happens next. There are a lot of groups, and many groups have different approaches to this work, different values in some areas. But at the end of the day, we're all fighting for the same thing. And I think that there are enough people in the world who, with the knowledge and with a way to act, will. Now, we still have governments to fight, because every time the situation gets worse, their response seems to be to add fuel to the fire. And it's maddening, but you have to maintain at least enough hope to keep you going. And I think for many of us, that's balanced with quite a bit of anger, and anger against a world and a system that's just failed so badly. Just if history is honest, it will not look kindly on this part of our history. Yeah.